are with Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple. Tim, thanks for being here.
Hey, glad to be in Shreveport today.
All right, it's been a minute, but we've talked a lot in the past about the insurance crisis in the state of Louisiana. Is it fair to ask, is there still a crisis?
Yes, I think it's fair to ask, and
Yeah.
yes, I think we are still in a crisis.
Okay.
Certainly when you talk to people about the affordability issue, it's a crisis for many families. It's still a crisis for many businesses. So we're in it. We're working our way out of it.
I know you've been kind of making your way all around the state. You've been in Shreveport, you've been in Monroe. Explain what's been going on there.
Yeah, you know, we're constantly, believe it or not, people do want to talk about insurance and hear what's going on. And so it's a pretty active travel schedule. Just yesterday, started in Baton Rouge, then Lake Charles, Shreveport, West Monroe, then back to Shreveport, and glad to be here again today, this morning. But talking about, you know, where we are, we're starting to see movement on the private passenger auto sector. We're starting to see some movement on the homeowners property as well. And so people want to know about that. We've taken some rate decreases recently on the private passenger auto, impacting about 80,000 vehicles in the state of Louisiana.
Part's good. Yeah.
That's good, and that's kind of around the state. It's not centered in any specific area. And then we're starting to see good movement on the property side too. Companies are starting to take less increases, and the increases they're taking are smaller. And we've also had companies now announce rate decreases. So we are trending in the right direction.
So when you go out, like you were part of a roundtable in Monroe, is that right?
Well, Monroe is the West Monroe
West
Chamber.
Monroe.
They had a business luncheon, and then we did a radio program last night in Monroe. But
you took questions there in Monroe, right?
always take questions.
What are people are they more interested in the property side or the auto side?
You know, in North Louisiana, it tends to be auto-driven.
Okay.
You know, property is certainly still an issue, but in South Louisiana, it's the vast majority are property related, and then auto comes second. So it just kind of depends on where you are in the state.
So no hurricane this year. That's got to be helpful.
It is helpful, and we're starting to see reinsurance costs are coming down. A lot of the companies are in the process of buying their reinsurance for next year, and the indications I'm getting, 10, 15% rate decreases on the reinsurance. That doesn't translate to a 10 to 15% to us, but it does mean that the costs are coming down, and and we should expect as consumers to see that cost be passed on to us.
Now explain what you mean
savings be passed on to us.
Okay, explain what you mean by reinsurance.
Yeah, so insurance companies, particularly regional insurance companies that ride in either a singular state or multiple states, you know, a few, they need to have reinsurance. They need to have the financial backing of a bigger company. Insurance companies buy insurance, it's called reinsurance. You know, they want to do the same thing we do. They want to spread their risk.
Okay, so we're still in a crisis, but things are starting to look up.
Yeah, they are. We're not there. I'm not done. I'm not going to sit back and say we've crossed any type of finish line. We still have more work to do. We still have more reform to do in the state of Louisiana, and I expect next session to be just as busy as the last two.
And you say some of the rates are coming down, people are taking less increases. That's strictly an insurance company decision, right? That's nothing that the state does.
The state, you know, we don't dictate what premiums need to be for companies, despite what some people think that the state should get involved in that. I think that's a very slippery slope. If we create a precedence where you have a regulator telling a company what they need to charge, despite whatever indicators may be, what's next? Does you know, a regulator body then tell gas companies, you know, a convenience store what they can charge for fuel at a gas station, or what an oil company can sell their oil for? That's not a good, you know, or what a farmer can sell his milk or his beef. I don't think we want to go there. I understand the pain and the frustration people are having with insurance right now, and when you know, and when you're dealing with financial struggles, you're looking for any solution, but that is not the solution. We need to create an environment, Jeff, that insurance companies have a level playing field so that the claims they pay, the amounts they pay, are fair and accurate and not excessive. There's a reason that the claims in Louisiana are more expensive, and it's we litigate more and we claim bodily injury more. On the auto side, those are the two drivers.
But you know what people think. They hear all this stuff, and I'm part of it. I report on it. Going on in the legislature, we're passing this law, that law. They think those laws are going to get their rates down. That's
Right.
what they think. That's not necessarily the
Look,
case.
there is no law that directly impacts the rate that says because we pass this law, you have to reduce your
Yeah.
rates by some factor. That has been done in the past. I believe it was, I can't remember the year, Jeff, 90. I can't remember the year, but they had
I have that
passed,
same problem.
They passed some reform. And it required the industry to take I think it was a 5% rate decrease
Okay.
on the auto component.
Yeah.
And then over the next couple of years, that slowly crept up because the reform that they didn't address the fundamental issues.
Right.
You still have, at the end of the day, when a claim occurs in Louisiana, it costs the insurance company more to handle that claim in our state than it does others. That's why insurance is more expensive.
Now, I found it interesting when we were talking off the air a little bit. You said that most people's, I guess, frustration is more with the claims process than the high premiums.
Yeah, look, I mean, and I'm certainly not taking away from people that are frustrated with their premiums.
Yeah.
But when people come up to me and we were talking about, or they're angry,
Yeah.
most of the people that come that are angry, it's about a particular claim, a way it was handled or not handled, or something to that effect. When we're talking about premium, it's more of it's a general sense of frustration, a sense of I've got to figure out how to handle that. How do I budget for something like that? There's certainly anger can be associated with that, but it's more of a frustration factor.
And I mean, it's become fashionable of late with everything. It started off back when Trump came into office about the price of eggs, right? And then it spread to everything. So now it's kind of a buzzword. It's the affordability crisis, and that's in the insurance industry as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We've been talking about when I ran for this office in 2019, we were talking about availability, affordability, and accountability.
Okay.
And we're here. I mean, it is. There's an availability issue, especially in South Louisiana. There aren't as many companies willing to write homeowners as there are here in North Louisiana. There's an affordability issue that we all face, and then there's the accountability. And the accountability is when you have a claim, making sure that the insurance company handles that claim properly. They respond quickly, they pay you fairly, and they pay you accurately. And also they don't go insolvent. That carrier doesn't go insolvent. We had that happen 12 times after hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida. 12 companies that did business in our state took premiums in from Louisiana citizens, hardworking dollars.
Yeah.
And then when the people called and said, I have a claim, they weren't there to pay it.
Wow.
So that's the other part of that accountability factor.
Well, that doesn't do anybody any good, does it?
It does not. I mean, and again, you thought you had, a safety net.
Right.
And look, there is LIGA, the Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association, which does guarantee the claims for these companies that go insolvent after that. But you don't ever want to be there. That's a very, by the time it gets to LIGA, you've already been out of your house for 6 months, 9 months, some period of time, and it's not a quick process.
So how's the stability atmosphere in Louisiana now?
Look, I think it's better than where we were. One thing that I want to do as commissioner is make sure that the companies doing business here, or have the reinsurance that's necessary to stay in business after an event. We are engaged with companies, checking to see what reinsurance levels they're buying. We don't have the regulatory oversight to tell them it's that they need to have a certain amount. Whereas we do have we do have statutes that say that you have to have so much surplus, policyholder surplus, cash in the bank, if you will. But beyond that, the reinsurance, there's not a requirement, but we are having dialogues because I want them to know, and insurance companies know, in Louisiana, the Commissioner of Insurance is going to ask, and you better have a good answer on what type of reinsurance levels you're buying.
Okay, and where do they go to buy this? Is this Lloyd's of London?
It's a global market, yeah.
Okay.
There are domestic reinsurance companies, and then there are global. You can buy those through the Bermuda market. You can buy them in London. Europe, there's reinsurers in Germany and in France, Australia. They're around the world.
So
Tokyo.
You went to Bermuda, right, to check all this out? Or
I've recently been to Bermuda. I say recently; it's probably been 6 months now. But
right.
And had meetings with the reinsurance companies over there, and letting them know the reform that the legislature passed back in 2024 and that the governor signed into law to make Louisiana a more attractive place to do business. So part of it is also marketing. You gotta go out because insurance companies don't have to do business in our state.
Yeah.
We need to attract their capital, their capacity, and part of that is going out and doing some marketing. and letting companies and reinsurance companies know that we want you to do business here, and we want to do what we can to get you to do business here.
I find that fascinating because I had no idea. I've heard of Lloyd's of London. I kind of knew what they did, but sort of.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had no idea. Like Bermuda, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah.
So you go all over the world. Now, when you went to Bermuda, how interested were they to hear the reforms that were made in the Louisiana legislature?
They were very interested, and back in 2023, before I took office,
Yeah.
I was commissioner-elect. But I hadn't been sworn in, with all the other statewides in January. But in December of 23, I went to London, and then went to Bermuda after that, and sat down, introduced myself as the commissioner of, the incoming commissioner of insurance.
Sure.
Now I was a reinsurance broker for many years, and so I've worked in London, I've worked in Bermuda, so it's not unfamiliar territory to me. So, but reestablishing contacts and relationships there, and part of the reform that we did, that the legislature ran through in 2024, was based on input and conversations that we had in London and Bermuda on our market. So it was tell us what we need to do, tell us where we need to pay attention, tell us where we're deficit in some areas compared to other states, and we did. We had those conversations. We brought legislation like the 3-year rule, for example. That was one where they highlighted that makes Louisiana a very difficult and more expensive place to do business.
That's gone now.
And
right?
It's modified.
Okay.
It's modified. It's not completely gone, but it is modified. And so it was input like that from the markets to help. And so then you got to go back. I guess in today's world, everybody likes to use the phrase, promises made, promises kept.
Right.
Also
out of sight, out of mind.
But that was one where we went to the market. They said pay attention to 1, 2, and 3. We came back and said we've done 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And the markets are responding accordingly.
It's nobody thinks of like what you're doing behind the scenes to make sure they have insurance, right? That's wild that all these connections are all over the world.
And look, and they shouldn't have to. It's an elected office, commissioner of insurance.
Sure.
My job is to work and help make sure, protect you, the consumer, from the bad actors.
Yeah.
But also work with the industry to make sure that they're here doing business, so we've got competition.
Yeah.
And look, insurance is not something a lot of people want to worry about. They don't want to think about it beyond. Can they afford the premium?
Yeah.
Most people, and look, and I think that's one area where just collectively, and this is not just a Louisiana problem, I think this is a national problem, we need to know more about insurance. How many people, they talk to their agent, they get a quote, they accept the quote, they write a check, they get a policy, they never read it.
I wish I knew more.
You put it, it gets put in a drawer, even if you get a paper copy now. Some send you an electronic copy, but I think still most send you a paper. You put it away, and the only time you ever think about it is when you've had an event.
Right.
You've either a car wreck, a tree fell on your house, a kitchen fire, something has happened. Now all of a sudden, you need to know everything that you possibly can about this very expensive product that you purchased. And so, I'd like to see more people learn more. And to that end, we're starting to move around the state some more. We're doing pop-ups.
I was just going to ask you about it. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So we started. Today is what?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yesterday, Tuesday in Lake Charles, we're calling it a pop-up office.
Okay.
We went to the city hall, worked with the mayor. He said, hey, I've got some space for you. And we brought some people from the department that deal with customer compliance, customer issues, and they are there in person, so people from the Lake Charles area could come in. And we had we had people come in yesterday. They're still there today.
Your people, you mean?
Folks from the Department of Insurance. Bring your policy. Bring your questions. If you have a claim and you want some information about that, or you want to talk about how the process is going, come sit down. We've got people that are there. That's a good idea. So you get to interact face to face like we are. I mean, we could do this over Zoom.
Yeah, sure.
It's not the same
It's better,
thing.
right. This is better.
Face to face is better. In the Department of Insurance, we only have our office in Baton Rouge. We don't have satellite or regional offices, unlike a lot of other statewide offices. So what I wanted to do was make sure that our folks, my co-workers at the department, are in the field so that people can interact with them if they have the wherewithal to do that. So we did Lake Charles. We're going to move throughout the state, and it's not just going to be for us. We're going to set up a rotation where we're constantly out, whether it's every month, every other month. We'll figure out what the volume needs to be. we're going to be around the state: Shreveport, Ruston, Monroe, Natchitoches. Everywhere that we need to get around, so that people, if they want to interact with a live person from the Department of Insurance and get some assistance on whatever is important to them, we're going to be there.
I think that's a great idea. You said Lake Charles is where you started.
We started with Lake Charles.
Did you get good response there?
Yeah, we had a good day yesterday,
Okay.
and I got the report this morning from my folks, my coworkers there. I think they anticipate more people today. We're going to look at that and tweak it, and do more on advertising
I was gonna
with
say,
social media.
you mentioned marketing.
radio
Yeah,
stations. We got to market that too. We got to
Right.
communicate that we're out there, and we did. But you can always do better.
Sure.
I believe that you look at something and see where can we improve and be more efficient. And the other thing, and I'll tell you just one of the things that came out of just yesterday's was that we need to do a town hall maybe in between the 2 days that we're there. So
Okay.
do a stand up, have people come in that night, do a town hall, so that people that might not have been able to get off work, or they just want to come in and not particularly talk about their problem or their concern, but just hear about what's going on.
Sure.
So that's one of the things we'll do. So we'll start doing a town hall in between the 2 days of a pop-up.
Well, let us know if you're going to come and do one in Shreveport, and we'll see if we can get involved with you.
You will definitely be made aware.
So are the insurance carriers in Louisiana now, is that a stagnant number, or are we starting to see more come in?
Well, we've had, I think the number's 12. I think we've had 12 insurance companies have filed, done the paperwork to do business in Louisiana since 2024.
12 new ones.
New ones,
Okay.
new companies. There's one new commercial writer. Those 12 are for residential property.
Okay. All right.
We have one new company that is writing commercial property, in addition to the ones that were already here. So we're moving that way. It's slow. I'll acknowledge it's not fast.
Yeah.
But I keep looking to Florida. 2021 they had Hurricane Ian. It upended their insurance market, much like the 4 hurricanes that we had upended ours. Their legislature went into session 4 separate times. They had 4 special sessions to address their insurance crisis,
Yeah.
to fix the laws on the books, to rebalance the system over there. And now they are starting to see progress. They started seeing it, I think, at the end of last year. They now have, I think it's 20 new companies writing hundreds of thousands of new policies.
Wow.
In their state. They have, over $1 billion of new capacity in their state. And if you go online, you can look, and it's there. Insurance companies are taking rate decreases, both in homeowners and in auto. So it took a couple of years for the reform to work. Louisiana's the same. It's going to be a slow trend, but we are trending in that right direction.
So do you feel the reforms that were done last year in the legislature it hasn't even been a year.
Yeah.
So we need another year or so.
Look, we're starting to see that we're moving
Yeah.
in that right direction.
Okay.
But I think, again, let's focus on the things that we can control.
Okay.
We can control the types of homes we build. We can control
Yeah.
the codes that we use to build these homes. We can put fortified roofs on
I was just
and
gonna-
do
yeah.
things to mitigate damages. We can control our legal environment. We can control all of those factors. Let's focus on what we control. We can't do anything about the weather. We get lucky with weather, or we
Yeah.
get unlucky with
Right,
weather.
right.
So let's focus on what we can. We're making our state more attractive from a legal environment. We're making it more attractive from a regulatory environment. Despite one bad bill out there, which became Act 11. We are working on things that we can control, and the industry is looking. They're taking notice, and they are responding appropriately.
Well, I'm thinking about it. If people do want to get in touch with your office, how do they do that?
Yeah, the best way is I say the best way. There's several best ways, if you
Yeah.
will. If you like to call 1-800-259-5300, 5300. You can go on the website at www.ldi.la.com, and then we have an app now. You got to have an app.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we
There's an app
have,
for everything.
There's an app for everything, and but it's LDI Connect.
Okay.
And, so
say,
you can download that.
say all of those things again, so people are.
Sure. So the app is LDI Connect.
Okay.
You can reach us at 1-800-259-5300 or www.ldi.la.com.
Okay.
.gov. LDI.gov.
Okay.
Got to think about that.
Yeah. Say it again.
Yes. www.ldi.la.gov. ldi.la.gov.
There you go. Okay. So there's no lack of ways that they can reach your office.
And if you're in Baton Rouge, you can come in person, or when we do the pop-ups, you can walk in.
All right. So when you were in Shreveport, you were meeting with the Republican Party here?
Yesterday it was with the Caddo Parish Republican Party, and then on over to Monroe and West Monroe for the chambers.
All right. So you've been all over the place.
I've been everywhere, man. But no,
There's a song in there somewhere.
There's a song in there. We just need to make it Louisiana-specific cities and towns.
Yeah.
But I love, and I'll tell you, Jeff, I like traveling around our state. I love the state of Louisiana. We have the greatest state in America. Our people, I like engaging with them, even though it's something as unpopular as insurance. We have the best people in the state, and I really like talking to them and trying to do what we can to help.
Everybody needs insurance. Nobody wants it, but until they need it, right? Then they're like, oh, I'm the same way. I don't make any claims. I mean, that I'm not, but you got to have it.
You have to have it. I mean, it's that financial peace of mind. A lot of times people say, well, why do we, mandatory auto insurance is mandatory.
Yeah.
Why is that? And they're like, okay, well, think about the alternative. Do you want to drive down the road knowing that if you get in an accident and you cause it, that you now are financially responsible for repairing that vehicle, paying some medical if there is bodily injury, risk being sued, and just take that on all yourself? I mean, nobody wants that. And so insurance, it's not only needed, it's a necessity. I mean, it is a financial necessity for most people.
It really is. I mean, what's the first thing the cops ask you, right? You get license and insurance. Yeah, you got to have it.
Yeah.
So what's next on your plate? What do you do from here?
Well, look, we've got. You mean just general?
Well, and not where you're going to travel, but what's?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So session is coming up, fast approaching. I mean, we're in December, so it's going to be here before you know it. We're working with stakeholders to look at what legislation we want to bring and have debated through the democratic process, and starting in, I guess, March of next year. So we've been engaged in conversations with stakeholders, insurance companies, adjusters, agents, brokers, consumer advocates, and representatives to talk about, what do we need to continue to work on. And look, there is always something that needs to be done.
Sure.
I hear a lot of times. I say a lot of times. I've heard that there's a lot of fatigue in Baton Rouge on insurance reform. I don't believe that, because I'll tell you where the fatigue is, and it's with the consumers of Louisiana. The fatigue is on the premiums that they can't afford. The fatigue is on the fact that businesses can't expand or having to contract because of insurance costs. That's where the fatigue is. So we're going to continue to push for meaningful reform, common sense reform, things that create Louisiana being an outlier, things that drive claims cost in Louisiana, and we've got to fix that, and we will fix it.
I mean, I don't know if this is not a fair question, then tell me it's not, and we'll move on. But you mentioned Act 11.
Yes.
Refresh my memory. I think I know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Act 11 was the one that says that the Commissioner of Insurance now can disregard actuarial justification for rate and just use feelings.
Feelings don't really fit into the equation, do they?
Not in the business world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. We'll move on.
And we're going to see. We're working through that right now. It's created some challenges. I mean, it's we're having to address it. And we shouldn't have to be having to address something like that, but we'll work through it, and we'll either make the best of it, or hopefully we'll get it changed and keep moving forward.
So when you visit with the insurance companies now, what are they telling you they need now?
Yeah, look, I mean, they want a level playing field. They want reliability. They want predictability in the market that they're in.
Okay.
When you see, if you pass legislation, then don't come back the next year, the year after, and undo it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need to tweak it.
Right.
We got to acknowledge not every bill comes out perfect.
That's fair.
And so you do need to do things to maybe improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you've made if an error was made and you've got some type of unintended consequence that was created, then you need to go and address that.
And they'll let you know that, right?
And they will. And look, consumers too. I mean, if a law is passed that somehow negatively impacts a consumer that was not intended or thought about, then we need to fix that as well. So I mean, it works all the way around. But you know, we need to. And you're asking, you know, what are we looking at? What are they talking and saying they need? It's that predictable, stable, you know, environment. Look, we have the highest premiums in America for auto insurance. We have the highest premiums in America for homeowners insurance. And I know people, they'll want to get you on a technicality. You know, well, Florida is $56 more, but the limits that we buy are lower than what they offer in Florida. So I think when you really look at it, I mean, if you look at rate, we're the most expensive.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not because we, you know, again, our cars aren't more expensive in Louisiana. They don't cost more to repair when we get in a wreck in Louisiana than anywhere else. We don't get in more accidents in Louisiana than the national average. It's when we get in an accident, we file bodily injury and we litigate more. I mean, those are the two cost drivers, and we need to rebalance the system. We need, and that's what the industry wants there. If you balance the system so that a claim is treated fairly in the state, losses will come down because those excessive losses that they're paying will come down, and that means premiums will come down with it.
But I think we all know, or at least the perception is, that Louisiana's roads are pretty bad. How does that figure into
Well, look,
it? Or does it?
I will say I'm not a professional, but I've driven a lot of miles in the state of Louisiana and continuously do, and will continue to do.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some bad roads in Louisiana. I drove through the Kisatchie Forest yesterday morning coming through. That's a terrible road.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. There's a couple of places it's actually pretty smooth, but it's a bad road.
Yeah.
But that's an outlier.
Okay.
We do have some areas, and I know here in this viewing region, you know, there are some, you know, in north and to the east of here. I mean, there's some rural communities and some roads that don't have shoulders, and yes, that can create dangerous conditions. But if you go back to it, we don't have more accidents than the national average.
Okay.
So the roads we have aren't creating more accidents.
So I mean, that's the main part of it. Yeah. No more accidents.
Look, I would love to see better roads, smoother roads, new bridges. But right now, the people of Louisiana can't afford the auto insurance to drive on these roads. So let's fix that.
Right.
And look, I mean, I don't want to get into, you know, the DOTD and all that. That's other people's. That's not my.
No, I know.
You know, but I would like to see. I'd like to see better roads and bridges too. But at the end of the day, that's not the major contributing factor to what drives cost in Louisiana.
Gotcha. All right, so we're just about out of time here, but the session is coming up. You guys have a plan. The insurance companies have a plan. Do you guys get into arguments? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we do. We certainly do. I mean, look, I tell you, the things that they want a lot more than it's out there, and that's fair. You know, but also on the other side, I mean, again, we're engaging with consumer advocates as well.
Okay.
You know, and part of my job as Commissioner of Insurance, I mean, I am the ultimate consumer advocate for insurance at the end of the day. My job is to make sure consumers are taken care of, and if they aren't, I need to know about it. You know, we hear a lot of times that, you know, there's bad actors on the insurance companies' wise.
Yeah.
We don't know about it until after it happens.
Yeah.
You know, we do not have the crystal ball. We don't have that ability. So the thing I ask, you know, viewers, whether you're a consumer, whether you're an insurance agent or a claims adjuster, heck, if you're a claims or if you're an attorney, or a medical provider, or anybody that deals with insurance, if you see where the system is not working, where it's flawed and the consumer is not being treated fairly, let's fix it.
Yeah.
Don't take advantage of it. Fix it.
Sure.
And the way we fix it is you got to use your voice. What is it they say now at the airports? If you see something, say something.
Yeah, sure.
Same thing applies to insurance. If they see something that's not working and it's not good for the consumer, say something.
Yeah.
And we will work to fix it at the Department of Insurance.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. Tim, I love talking to you, man. Yeah, I know you're passionate about.
I'm passionate about this.
You are passionate about this stuff.
Look, I know that we can do better. I know that we can lower premiums for citizens of Louisiana. I want people to keep more money in their pockets.
All right.
And spend it in other places in our state economy than the insurance industry.
Very good. Tim
that
Temple.
Makes them mad.
Yeah. Tim Temple, the insurance commissioner for the state of Louisiana. Always a pleasure visiting with him. Thanks for watching this edition of the app, Arklatex People in Politics. It's available on all major podcast platforms and all KTBS digital platforms. Have a good day, everybody.